Hey you guys, Jacqueline here. Today I am doing something a little bit different, but still flight attendant related. Let me backtrack. I've been procrastinating all day. I have to renew my license plates on both of my cars. One of them needs an emissions test. I don't feel like going. Now it's like noonish. I feel like everyone is gonna be on their lunch break and they're gonna be there. So I can't be bothered waiting in line. So what do you do when you're putting off everything else? You go on the internet. And today on the internet, I found something called the flight attendant tag. And I thought, I'm a flight attendant. I should participate. So here we go. Before I start answering questions, let's get down to business though. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you like this video at the end. I'm gonna make it as likable as I possibly can. Okay. So the first question on the flight attendant tag is, where are you based? Currently, I do contract flights, so I can pick those up anywhere in the world, really. When I was flying commercially, I was based out of Chicago, even though I didn't live there. So I had to fly to Chicago from where my house is to start my trips, and then when my trips were finished, they would end in Chicago and I would just fly home. I'm thinking maybe I should do like a corporate flight attendant version of the flight attendant tag and a commercial flight attendant version of the flight attendant tag. Hashtag flight attendant tag. The next flight attendant tag question is, what is your favorite layover city and why? This is so tough because I've been to so many different places. It's hard to compare like somewhere domestically to somewhere in South America, or somewhere in Australia to somewhere in Europe. My favorite layover, probably Bogota, Colombia. I loved it there. It was so much cleaner than I thought it was going to be. The people were insanely nice. The food was delicious. And if you know me at all, you know the food is the most important thing. I feel like I got an impression of Colombia from watching the show Narcos, and I know that's a terrible thing to say. Colombians, please don't hate me, because your country is one of my favorite places I have ever been. I would gladly go back there in a heartbeat, but it just surprised me so much how different my perspective of Colombia was to what Colombia actually is. So Bogota, Colombia, favorite layover city so far. Okay, question number 3. How long have you been a flight attendant? When I flew commercially, I left just shy of flying for 5 years. I think I was there for like 4 years, 9 months, and some amount of days. And then I have been a corporate flight attendant now, the end of November, and I started in July, so not very long, 4 months on the corporate side. So a total, I have passed my 5-year flying anniversary. So in total, I have been flying for 5 years. Just the majority of it was on the commercial side. Okay, the next question is, what is your biggest flight attendant pet peeve? And I'm getting a text message, sorry about that. Okay, back to the question. Texting is over. My biggest flight attendant pet peeve on the commercial side, they just don't stop. Biggest flight attendant pet peeve on the commercial side was when people would get up to use the lavatory and the seatbelt sign was on, because per FAA regulations, flight attendants have to let you know the seatbelt sign is on. We get fined personally if we didn't do it, so we said it. I know we sound like nags. I know it's super annoying, especially to the people who are compliant enough to realize the seatbelt sign is on. I'm gonna wait. But anyway, when the seatbelt sign is on, and I would inform a passenger trying to go to the lavatory that the seatbelt sign was on, and they would say, "Oh, well, can I go to the bathroom?" No, idiot, the seatbelt sign is on. It's not the seatbelt sign is on, but you're excused to use the lavatory if you need to. Go ahead, turbulence isn't gonna bother you in the bathroom. It's gonna be smoother in the bathroom, actually. Go for it. Anyway, now I'm like all hot and bothered thinking about the million times I've had this conversation with someone asking to go to the bathroom when the seatbelt sign was on. Public service announcement. The seatbelt sign is on for the entire plane. There are no exclusions. The bathroom is not excluded from that. It gets bumpy in there. You will pee or poo all over yourself. Or worse, you're gonna hit your head in turbulence. And guess what? If I have to be seated because the seatbelt sign is on, I'm not gonna come help you. And then on the corporate side, my biggest pet peeve, I don't know. I guess if someone doesn't like love my food that I've prepared, like this sounds so stupid. If they don't go out of the way to be like, oh, that meal was amazing, like you plated it so well, because I try to make all the meals special. I don't know, I'm just overly sensitive, or maybe I just like the praise that much. Everyone's always been great though. I don't know, I've only been doing it for 4 months. Let me come back to a corporate side flight attendant pet peeve. Okay, next up on the questions list, what is your favorite thing about being a flight attendant? On the corporate side, it was the camaraderie. I was buddy bidding for 2 years. I always flew with the same person. We spent all of our layovers together and it was so much fun. I made some of my lifelong best friends when I was a commercial flight attendant. My favorite thing about being a corporate flight attendant is definitely the flexibility. You kind of can pick and choose your own schedule if you want to, so you have a better control of what life could be. However, if you are denying trips all the time, you'll probably get a reputation of denying trips and you might not be called as often. In general, as a flight attendant whole, my favorite thing about being a flight attendant, obviously, is that every day is different. And is it like really a job? Like, I don't have to go into an office. I don't have to return a voicemail. I don't have to deal with the same issue for days upon days or weeks upon weeks. Like, every day is a different day. I'm going to new cities all the time. My schedule is totally different. Makes for an exciting life. I'm lucky. What did you do before you were a flight attendant? Before I was a flight attendant, I worked for a law firm. I did their marketing. So say what you want about ambulance chasing law firms, I did online promotions for them. The attorney I worked for was a good guy though. He wasn't like the ambulance chaser, get in a wreck, I'll get you a check kind of attorney. Like, he genuinely cared about his clients and was making sure insurance companies weren't ripping them off. So yes, I did marketing. I dealt with the online presence, radio presence, newspaper, print, all that kind of stuff. And it was a ton of fun. And when it ended, I was laid off and given a year's worth of pay. And I thought, hey, I'm an adult, I've got money, I don't have any responsibilities, I'm gonna go travel the world. And so I set off for a backpacking trip, and I don't know how many countries I went to. I was just traveling all the time. And when I ran out of money, I was like, well, crap, I don't want to go back to work. I'm going to become a flight attendant. And so that's how I got into flight attending. So that's what I did before, and that's how I became a flight attendant. Oh, okay. So the next question is, what made you decide to become a flight attendant? Yeah, I saw a taste of what the world offered me, and I had freedom, but then I didn't have money, so I wanted to continue living the lifestyle that I was living, and I knew I needed to get paid to do it. So that is how I became a flight attendant. Funny backstory, I was afraid of flying when I first started, and I still have text messages saved from my friends who all thought I was psychotic for wanting to become a flight attendant, because I would have like panic attacks on airplanes. Like, I was a legit nervous flyer. I hated doing it, but I loved traveling, so I would get on the planes all the time, and people hated flying with me. Like, I was such a disaster. And then I went through training, and I was like, well, you know, it sounds pretty safe. Like, they're doing it all the time. And then the more I went through training, and then obviously the longer I've flown, that fear is gone. But I was like terrified of flying really like 7 years ago. Hated it. Now I'm totally fine. Nothing bothers me. One thing bothered me. We had a fire on board one time, and it was freaking awful. It's the only time, like, since I've been flying, from the time I was afraid to fly, that I have been scared on an airplane. I became like super Catholic, praying a ton. That's a story for another day, because that like really is a story, and I can dig up some pictures and show you guys if you want. But yeah, the fire on board is the only time I've been scared. Okay, I've gotten way off topic. Let me get to the next question. Okay, the next question is, what is a layover must-have? I'm not sure if this is a one-item thing, so I'm going to include a couple things. If you follow the blog, you know I have Mr. Clown. He's like a stuffed clown who's a Mr. Clown, super creative. I've had him since he was born. He goes on all my adventures and I like pose him everywhere, and he's like my roaming gnome. So I always have to have Mr. Clown because I don't know if I'm gonna have like a great photo opportunity for Mr. Clown. That's not a practical thing to carry. Something practical, my skincare routine. Flying is very drying. I like a good moisturizing mask for the evening, or I like to exfoliate because you're just in dry air all the time and you can get all that yuck off your face. So my skincare routine is something that always comes with me. So just 2 things. I'm not that needy when I'm traveling, according to me. Did I say I've had Mr. Clown since he was born? Because I definitely meant since I was born. I got him the day I was born. That's probably why there's an attachment, and I still pose him for pictures 32 years later. But yes, I've had Mr. Clown since the day that I was born. Okay, what is the most challenging thing about being a flight attendant? This is the same answer for the commercial side as it is for the corporate side. Most challenging thing is missing any important events. On the commercial side, it was a lot harder because you start off at the very bottom and seniority just helps you grow. When you grow, you get a better schedule. When you get a better schedule, you don't miss events. My first few Christmases, oddly enough, I was sent to Florida every time, which generally is fine. I have family in Florida, so I think I got to see them on Christmas Eve like 2 years, my first 2 years of flying. I do remember when Christmas Eve was over though, after spending time with my family and I was in the hotel, I picked up my phone and I called my mom and I called Johnny and I cried from the hotel. So I don't know, the layovers with family like helped as far as missing holidays go, but it was like lonely. We had good flight attendant or like even flight crew camaraderie. Like we all hung out together because it sucks for everyone to be away from your family during the holidays. So yeah, that's the most challenging thing on both sides. And I am someone who like really suffers from FOMO. I hate missing out. I get super jealous, like crabby jealous if I miss something. So yeah, super challenging, whether it was the commercial side or on the corporate side. Okay, and the last question in the flight attendant tag is, what advice do you have for a future flight attendant? On both sides, corporate and commercial, my biggest piece of advice is give it at least 6 months. You think you know what a flight attendant does, like I totally thought I did. I traveled enough in between an office job and a flight attendant job to like study the flight attendants, and I'm like, I know what they do. I could do that. I could handle that. Like, you travel for fun. Awesome. Totally different. You don't get it unless you do it. And it's hard when you first start. You're going to get the FOMO. You're going to miss out on birthdays. You're going to miss out on holidays. You're going to miss out on weddings. I still haven't planned my own wedding. Life kind of takes the back seat to the flight attendant schedule. But if it's something that you really want to do, this job is totally, totally worth it. You just have to get through the first 6 months. You have to find your groove, and eventually everything will make sense. You'll have a better understanding of how to manage your schedule, and it will be the most fun thing that you have ever done. Well, you guys, I hope that you liked the video. I hope I answered some questions for you. I've been watching the hashtag flight attendant tag. I'm probably gonna watch a few more because this video didn't take as long as I thought it was going to, and I'm still not ready to go get my tags for my license plate. Hopefully my video helped you procrastinate. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. I said earlier, but I'll say it again. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. This way you get the latest and hopefully the greatest. If you have additional questions for me or thoughts or comments or concerns, leave them down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching, guys.